Boom. And we are officially live. Better late than never. All right, guys. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take questions from people. I'll start off going in some of the comments here. And then otherwise, I think I'm going to take some live phone calls tonight too, as well. Okay. I'm sorry for the delay getting started. We had a busy night with family tonight. We were carving pumpkins. Anyways, if you're new here, and you're not sure what this is all about, tonight I'm going to take questions about quitting nicotine, quitting cannabis, other substances like that. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Dr. Frank, and we have a science backed method that has a 98% client success rate at helping people quit nicotine, cannabis, and other substances in as little as 48 hours. This method is specific for high level professionals and high performance individuals. You can learn more about it with the link in the video description. Otherwise, guys, what we got to do is hit me in the comments with questions, concerns, things that you need help with, okay? Like, give me some of that. Because that's basically what I do during the live calls is I take questions from you guys. So if you want to call in with your question and you want to talk like live, this is what we can do. Here's a number. The phone number is 716 274 6788. 716 274 6788. But if you're going to call me, make sure that you have a specific question and I'll answer it live for you over a phone call during the stream, okay? Otherwise, you can drop it in the comments. All right, let's see here. I have to stop knowing it's bad for my blood pressure. Yeah, health reasons are certainly a good reason to quit, but like knowing something's bad for your health often isn't going to be enough motivation to stop doing the thing, right? Most people aren't going to quit for a health related reason until that health related concern has become already too big of a problem. So, what I would rather you think about is why is it that you value having a healthy blood pressure? Why do you care about your health? Why do you care about your cardiac health? What does that really mean to you? That's what I would start asking yourself, because the other problem with quitting strictly out of health concerns is it typically puts the person in a state of like fear, and there's usually a lot of health anxiety associated with that fear. And if someone's consuming, let's say, nicotine or cannabis because they're anxious, what happens when we create more health anxiety for that person? They just smoke, drink, vape, or do more of the drug because they think that that drug is helping them with the health anxiety. And then what happens? They just wind up doing nothing. They don't wind up quitting. So unless someone is at like a crisis moment in their health, which we do see with like cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, you can certainly see it with lung problems with smoking cigarettes and cannabis. Generally speaking, though, I'm not certainly if you have a history of psychosis with cannabis, these would be health crises, right? Alcohol, your liver's failing, your cardiac system is failing. If it's not like a health crisis, I usually don't recommend primarily quitting for health related reasons, okay? So let's see here. I've made some progress with not smoking weed due to a change of environment, but how do I stop smoking cigarettes? So it's gonna probably be the same way you quit smoking weed, but like your environment, it plays a role, but it doesn't play as much of a role as you want, as you might think it did. Okay, the reason you quit smoking weed was probably much more some degree of change in mindset or mental shift that you had. Okay, I guarantee you it wasn't strictly because of an environmental change. I'm sure that played a big factor in it, but I guarantee you that wasn't the sole reason. And yeah, like, so smoking cigarettes, I mean, people ask, how do I stop smoking cigarettes? Well, eventually you just stop, right? Whether you do that cold turkey, whether you do that using a method, a book, something like that. You can use nicotine replacement therapy. You could go on different medications. I mean, how do I stop smoking? There's many different ways that you can stop smoking cigarettes, but eventually you just stop. Now, stopping starts though with your belief system surrounding the cigarette. why do you smoke cigarettes? Why do you want to quit? The why you smoke cigarettes, what it is you enjoy about them, is the more important of the two questions. Because if we can start to answer that and we can really break that down into nothing, it makes quitting significantly easier. I tell people all the time how you quit smoking weed, how you quit smoking cigarettes, how you quit using social media content, how you quit gambling. A lot of it is the same principle over and over again. A lot of it applies across the board. The only thing that's going to differ is maybe the detox and the withdrawal process. But changing your perception, focusing on the future, right? All of that's going to be very similar from substance to substance or behavior to behavior, okay? Your younger nephew was just diagnosed with COPD at age 39 and you don't want to go out like that. Yeah, I mean these are very real risks, right? Anytime we're inhaling something, it's a very real risk to create COPD or some other problem like that, right? Okay, let's see here. Chimmy Jackson, I'm thrilled I help you. That's awesome. Fire Dragon 6256. I've been off weed for 14 days in one day. How long will it take for the emotions to start to stabilize? I've been feeling down. My grandpa passed away. Yeah, I'm very, very sorry to hear that. So you're off for 2 weeks. Generally speaking, around the 2 week mark, most people's emotions are going to start to stabilize. But I tell people like up to 90 days. Up to 90 days is what I tell people. Like the first 90 days, and I don't know how much you were consuming. I don't know what strength. I don't know if you're still testing positive, if you were to run a drug test and at what NG per ml. So generally speaking, when you quit consuming cannabis, you'll run into a bunch of emotional dysregulation. And that happens for two reasons. One, you're under a lot of stress. Your body's going through detox and withdrawal. Two, you're waiting for your body to start producing its own endocannabinoids again, if you were consuming a lot of it. Because when you consume cannabis all the time, your body will start to downregulate its own production of its own THC and CBD and all that stuff. It's called something different in your body, right? I think it's AGA or something, but 2AG or something like that. But until your body starts to produce its own again and that endocannabinoid system starts to regulate, you're probably going to have a challenge. Now, here's the deal though. I don't know like what you're doing lifestyle factor wise, right? While you're waiting for that to happen, you can promote healing, right? Getting outside, exercising, focusing on healthy social connections, partaking in a hobby or a learning experience, right? All of these things are going to help. If you were in really bad shape, you could look at a bridge with medication to get you there. So, yeah, there's a few factors. And then I'd also have to know, Fire Dragon, like, are you sleeping? What's your nutrition look like? Because if you're still not sleeping and you're still having insomnia as a side effect of quitting, well, that's why another reason why your emotions might be problematic right now. I don't know exactly why it would be, but generally speaking, most people within 90 days do much better. A lot of people, it's around the 2 week mark, though. Typically in literature, if you look at like endocannabinoid production after quitting, they say it's about 2 weeks. So that's why tolerance breaks are so important. Cigarettes is easy. I don't know what you mean, David. I think you mean cigarettes are easy to quit, but it's just everything is easy to quit. Okay? Everything is easy to quit with the right mindset. Now, I'll put an exception in there. It gets a little complicated with alcohol and benzos and drugs where you can get a life-threatening physical dependence to. That's where things do get a little more complicated. Which in the case of cigarettes, no, someone does not have a life-threatening physical dependence. But I have seen people quit cannabis and quit nicotine where they throw themselves into like a mental health crisis, right? A really large state of like anhedonia, and then they get suicidal ideation and we worry about self-harm happening. So, interesting. Yeah, it's going to vary person to person. Weed's the hardest thing to quit for you. Yeah, it's going to vary person to person. For a lot of people, weed is really hard to quit for a number of reasons. One, the detox takes a really long time. Two, there's not really good support out there, conversation about it. Three, most people view weed in this really, really like praise type of way right now in society. So that makes it challenging, right? There's a lot of stigma if you're addicted to cannabis. And four, we see this all the time because we work with like again, we work predominantly in our one-on-one programs, which you can learn about with the link in the video description and pinned comment, with like a lot of high-level professionals, so like physicians, attorneys, politicians, entertainers, influencers, things like that. And typically their life is not in shambles. So the pain of wanting to quit usually isn't like crazy, crazy intense. They urgently want to stop. It's causing problems with their family life, with their kids, with their business, with their physical health. But like they could get by continuing to smoke in many cases. And this is what makes it so hard to quit for a lot of people because they can just coast, kind of becoming content with being in the middle, okay? Guys, I'm chewing up a piece of my gum. I have to take out my mouth. I apologize. So, if you guys haven't checked out our gum, plug for our chewing gum, Kick It Crave Less Chewing Gum, kickitrevolution.com, KSM66 ashwagandha and N-acetylcysteine, great supplement there. I use that sometimes before bed because the KSM can make me a little relaxed. Okay, so yeah, that's the biggest thing about weed, though. Like that detox, and the detox can take a really long time for people. It can take up to like, I mean, I have someone right now, she's what, 60 days cannabis free and still testing positive at 100 ng per ml. Wild. I've seen that happen though up to 120 days post quitting. Okay, weed makes me more relaxed. So here's something interesting. It may make you more relaxed. A lot of people are going to think that weed makes them more relaxed. I hear this all the time from people. I smoke weed to help me relax after a long, stressful day at work or whatever it is. Okay. Whether or not weed is actually making you do that, if you want to quit, this is where quitting becomes hard. If you have the belief and you've associated the superpower of relaxation with consuming cannabis, and you truly believe that that benefit exists for you, and you're trying to quit, quitting's going to be very hard because now you're giving up something that you see benefit to. And that's why it's going to feel like you're giving something up. So I don't know whether or not it actually makes you more relaxed. I don't know you, JWD2M. But I'm just talking about this in general for people who are here thinking about quitting. Because there's going to be a lot of people that say, cannabis helps me relax, it helps me this, it helps me that. This is where we have to start when it comes to quitting. We have to deconstruct that belief system. That's what makes quitting easy. Without nicotine, I'm an anxious mess. Yeah, a lot of people are that way, Patrick. You know, many times if we're bringing people off of like, a lot of people call us for like quitting vapes. Every now and then we'll get someone calling us to quit using Zen. Usually they're using Zen and vapes together. But if you're used to like high amounts of nicotine, there's again, and you get really bad anxiety. Like I've seen people quitting Zen going to the hospital with panic attacks because they don't know what's wrong with them because they're so panicked after stopping. Two things. One, you could look at using a nicotine patch. You could look at supplementing with something like KSM66 ashwagandha, clinically studied to help reduce anxiety. You could look at taking something like N-acetylcysteine, which is very promising to help reduce cravings. A lot of people get that anxiety when they quit nicotine because they have the cravings. But if you're doing a good job of quitting, the cravings shouldn't be that bad if you have the right mindset, to be honest with you. But fine, say they're still there. And acetylcysteine can help. And if you were really that anxious, you could also look into medication-assisted bridges to help you get there, which oftentimes isn't necessary, but in some cases, it doesn't hurt. So yeah, there's many solutions to that. But like also, why are you an anxious mess when you quit nicotine? Do you believe that nicotine is helping with your anxiety? Or is the anxiety that nicotine is helping with the anxiety that it creates? Because you consume nicotine, nicotine leaves your body, now you don't have it, you're without it, and you start getting super anxious because you crave more nicotine. And then you have it and you're like, I feel so much better, I feel so much calmer. Are you actually, or did you just satisfy the craving of wanting more nicotine, right? This is the basic principles of Alan Carr's book, The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. And two, this is, Patrick, what's going to make it so hard for you. I'm an anxious mess without nicotine. Why am I an anxious mess without nicotine? What you should be asking yourself, what is causing me to be an anxious mess? Not I am an anxious mess. What is causing me to be that way? Because now we can really start to dissect that, figure it out, and come up with an actual solution to it. Okay? How you talk to yourself matters a lot, right? I am an anxious mess. You're putting a massive label on yourself. You're turning into that much bigger problem than you need to, okay? I lost count of the months I've been clean off weed. You can do it too. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm starting to lose interest in things that make me happy. Will it get better in time? Yeah, it does get better in time. I think you're talking about like kind of some of the anhedonia maybe. Or I don't know. Are you still consuming? I'm not sure where we're at on that one actually. 766 days without alcohol. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. Good. I'm having a really difficult cravings after 3 to 5 days and keep smoking again. I feel out of control. So you're not out of control. You're not some out of control animal. Don't talk to yourself that way. And it's very common after 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days for most substances is going to be where you get the peak detox and the peak withdrawal. Maybe with the exception of cannabis, but honestly, like most other substances, that's going to be the case. So, like, very normal at 3 to 5 days. But here's the deal, like, Gia, you know this going into 3 to 5 days. Like, you know that this is where the hiccup comes in. So what occurs at 3 to 5 days that brings you back to it? What happens that brings you back? Is it the withdrawals that need to be mitigated better? Is it a belief system that needs to be changed? Is it an environmental, like what brings you back after 3 to 5 days? And listen, Gia, you go into quitting and people will go into it and they're quitting for a reason, right? So like, I'm quitting because I want better finances, better health, better relationships, whatever. Notice you're not saying I'm going to quit unless it gets hard, unless I get a headache, unless I get irritability, unless I get cravings. Like think about the commitment that you're making. When you make that commitment, are you subconsciously putting parameters in place to suck you back to it? That's something that you might want to consider next time you go through days 3 to 5. But really, days 3 to 5 typically are peak withdrawals. The most common thing I tell people is like simple technique you can do, addicted voice recognition technique, right? So days 3 to 5, you're getting these intense cravings and withdrawal symptoms. Recognize that as that addicted voice, not your own voice. It's not actually cigarettes or cannabis that you crave or smoking. You crave more money, better relationships, stronger faith connection, whatever, better physical health and mental health. That voice is the addicted voice, separate from you. And your goal right now is to call it out and say, hey, I recognize that you're dying as I'm starting to thrive. Right? Because days 3 to 5 in peak detox, that's your body showing you that it's capable, that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay? Excellent. Okay, let's see here. I had pretty bad insomnia right after first when I quit. Yeah, the insomnia is very common. I enjoyed watching. So alcohol was very easy for me to quit. Yeah, the thing, again, everything can be easy. The thing that gets tricky with alcohol is in some instances, people will be drinking to a point where they have a physical dependence on alcohol. And if they stop, they're at risk of getting seizures and things like that. So that's where we have to be careful with alcohol. But hey, if that's you and you're a high level professional and you want to quit privately, you want to detox at home, you want to do this without going to group meetings, putting your whole life on display for your community and your public image, check out the link in the video description in the pinned comment. We can help you out with that, okay? Again, though, guys, our program specifically like business owners, entrepreneurs, high level professionals, okay? I enjoyed watching your optimistic, encouraging energy, but I've smoked 50-50 weed and tobacco for 30 years. I keep watching you trying to quit. Yeah, I mean, look, the duration of time that you've been smoking isn't a problem. And thank you for the kind words about the channel. But that's okay. 30 years. I mean, I've talked to people who are 60, 70 years old who are, saying, look, I'm ready to quit. So I don't think that and they started at the age of 18. So I'm not sure where you're going on that. Like, yes, there's more, you may have it more ingrained into your behaviors and your habits and your routines, but that is all changeable. Like, we can unlearn learned behaviors. We do it every day. So already I can see, I think you told me that to say, like, but it's been 30 years. And like, don't fall for that type of speaking to yourself. Don't fall for that mindset. You're already almost throwing like I really want to quit and I'm doing okay, but it's weed and tobacco and it's been 30 years. So what? So what? Look, I tell people a lot of times too, if they're quitting the spliffs, like we got people all the time that we work with on that. Sometimes what I'll recommend is actually continuing to consume the tobacco for a little bit and just getting rid of the cannabis and then working on the tobacco next. So if you're going to stop both altogether, utilizing like a patch or a pouch or something like that with nicotine to kind of bridge the gap. Okay. All right, let's see here. I'm 3 months into quitting weed, still can't get a good sleep, so tired. Yeah, so you're 3 months in, still not getting a good sleep. What's your nutrition look like? What's your exercise routines look like? How much caffeine are you consuming? You guys would be amazed at how potent caffeine is. Like, this is one of the things I'm making a video about coming up soon here. I cannot tell you the amount of people I've worked with over the year. I was just at a lunch today. We were out getting pumpkins with my son and my wife and her friends, and this younger girl with us. She's like, I'm getting put on these sleep meds and these anti-anxiety meds at night because I don't sleep. I'm sitting there and she's drinking like a big coffee. She had a coffee while we were getting pumpkins. She also told me she really likes Celsius and Alani energy drinks. And I was like, do you know that there's a 99% chance that you don't have the anxiety you think you have and that you don't have a sleep problem? If you gave me all the caffeine you drank, I would be up for 5 days. If you gave me 1 cup of coffee, it would disrupt my sleep in the evening. That's why I don't drink caffeine. It totally screws me up. So I just have a lot of questions. Now, if you're doing great on all that stuff and you're still not sleeping after 3 months, again, you might need to consider supplementation or medication-based bridge to help you get there to get back into a regular sleep rhythm, okay? But really, I'd have a lot of lifestyle questions first before anything else. All right. Yeah, weed can be very, very hard to quit. I've been dipping for a long time, so we're talking about chewing tobacco here, and I want to stop. How can I stop? It starts, why do you dip? What pleasure do you believe you derive from dipping? And how are we going to dismantle that? We have to change your perception of the drug. Duck Hat 250. You dip, Duck Hat. I'm going to guess you enjoy hunting. You enjoy dipping while you're hunting. You're outdoors, right? You've made all these associations and probably all these perceptions of benefits. I used to dip all the time. Dipping was like my first thing, okay, back in high school. Yeah, but so that's where it starts. Change your perception, focus on your future. Why do you care? Look at the problems you're facing, break them down into little itty bitty pieces, and then try and figure it out. But when you ask me, how can I stop? You can stop cold turkey. You can read books. You can use supplements. You can use medications, right? You could wean off slowly. You could switch to some other nicotine-based product. There's so many ways to stop, right? But stopping, it doesn't matter which one of those methods. You could buy our chewing gum, Kick It Crave Less chewing gum, awesome product, kickitrevolution.com. Sign up for our coaching, right? The number one way people stop is they just stop. They wake up one day and they stop, okay? Nicotine specifically is probably one of the most quit drugs ever, as in every day people wake up and just stop. So there's clearly some mindset thing going on here that's not firing correctly. But yeah, you got a lot of options. So hopefully that helps you out. But you got to start by identifying why do you do it? Why do you find pleasure in it? And you have to question that. Okay. How do I deal with the positive memories of my weed highs against the negative experiences? Great question, Sully. I like that one a lot. So a lot of times I'll tell people, You can't recreate the positive memories. You can't. And it's not a bad thing that you can't. You just can't. Here's the deal. I have good memories of smoking weed. I do. I remember being in college. It's a cold winter night. I got, some roommates. I got, a cute girl cuddled up next to me and we're watching a movie and I see the snow coming down outside and right? Like I got good memories with weed, right? I got times laughing with my buddies, like just laughing so hard at the dumbest stuff. I can't recreate that now. I'm not in college anymore in a dorm room, in an apartment, right? I have a house, I have a child, I have a wife, I have a mission, I have a purpose. I'm trying to provide, I'm trying to do things, right? So I've changed as a person over the last, I quit 9, 10 years ago now. I've changed a lot. Life has changed me. My values have changed. My goals have changed. I've changed every minute, every second. You're changing. You're changing right now watching this. So the idea that you can go through all this change and then recreate an experience from even a week ago is impossible. And then you're just chasing something that doesn't exist. And what is that? That's a massive waste of time, right? So it's a massive waste of time. Close to have been stressed out because I can't find a job. I'm getting denied job after job. It's starting to get me. What do I do? Help me relax. Okay. So I got an incoming message here. And the individual is saying, I've called them before. I've been close to relapsing because I've been stressing because I can't find a job. I've been getting denied for a job over and over and over again. And it's starting to make me want to go back to drinking and smoking to help me relax. Okay? So here's the thing. It's not getting a job, and you said your name was Anthony. Anthony is not the triggering event. Okay? That is not what's making you want to drink and smoke. What's making you want to drink and smoke is the idea, the belief that you feel drinking and smoking is going to help you relax because you can't find a job. Okay? So understand something. Not getting a job is not a triggering event. The only reason you are triggered to drink or smoke by that is because you think that alcohol and smoking has the ability to give you the superpower of relaxation. This is what's going through your head. This is what's creating the trigger. This belief system that you have. Okay? This thought process that you have. All right? Look at your past experiences. Did drinking and smoking result in a relaxing experience for you? I know it didn't, Anthony, because I know you told me you went to rehab and you're getting back on your feet and all that stuff, okay? So I know it doesn't result in relaxation for you. Secondly, what might happen? You might smoke, you finally get a job, and it's a job that drug tests, and then you're like, shoot, now I can't apply to the job because I'm going to test positive, So here's, and I know this to be true because I have this conversation all the time with people. It's the amount of effort you thought it was going to take probably is going to take significantly more. You simply underestimated how much effort it was going to take to get a job. That's it. You simply underestimated it. So you sent out, maybe 100 job applications. I don't know how many you sent out. I'm going to guess you've called maybe 10, 20 different places. Maybe you visited 5 or 10 places. Triple those numbers, okay? If you just keep going relentlessly, you will find a job. I am positive you will find a job. But you underestimated how much effort it was going to take. Now you're frustrated. You're blaming it on the job market. And now you're saying this event is triggering me to go smoke and drink, which is not true. You're triggered because you think drinking and smoking is going to help you relax. You think it's going to help you relax because it's going to distract you from the fact that you're not finding a job or the fact that you have to significantly increase the workload, the output when it comes to finding a job in whatever field you're looking in. So I see exactly what's going on here. But I can say with certainty, look, I tell people make your own decisions. I would never tell someone not to drink or not to smoke. If that's what they want to do it. But I know from talking to you before exactly what's going on. And I see exactly the downfall here. All you need to do is apply to more jobs, because what's going to not stress you out? Having a job. Like, that's the solution. The solution, I'm stressed out because I don't have a job. Drinking and smoking is not going to resolve that or help in any capacity. So there you go. Awesome, though. I that was a great question. Great question. I could care less about smoking. I even think about it. Hang in there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Took me 5 to 6 months before I really started feeling better. Yeah, that's not uncommon. Not uncommon. Anytime, guys. Anytime. You guys, we have an incredible community here. Ooh, I have a major back surgery. My doctors won't operate until I quit smoking. Yes, this is very true. Doctors don't want to operate on you unless you smoke. If you smoke, unless you smoke. If you smoke, and I'll tell you why. If you're consuming nicotine, it significantly increases the chances of a failed spine surgery, because your bone healing isn't is going to be as good, right? Because nicotine vasoconstricts less nutrients to the bones, less nutrients in the blood flow, right? So yeah, surgeons don't want to. They don't want a bad rap. They don't want a bad surgery resulting from something that the patient was responsible for, right? Two, if it's cannabis that you're talking about, one of the other issues there is just how intensely cannabis impacts anesthesia. So if you guys do smoke weed and you need surgery, you definitely got to be upfront with people, because the anesthesiologist, if you're going under, needs to be aware of your drug intake. So, they can, be careful with you when they're doing surgery. Okay, let's see here. It's just a thought. Yeah, that's very true. Cravings, this, that. So many things are just a thought, guys. So many things in life are just a thought. Okay, let's see here. 9 days for me and I feel so good. Weed is now my enemy and I'm winning every battle. Thanks for your help, Dr. Frank. Awesome. Incredible. Yeah, weed is the enemy. I talk about that. For you guys who haven't seen my stuff, again, I have a pretty cool video. The link is going to be in the pinned comment in the video description, where I tell you a little bit more about our science-backed method that we have. 98% client success rate at helping people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours. Okay, we can do this privately without disrupting your public life and image. This method is designed specifically for like entrepreneurs, business owners, high-level professionals. I have a cool video and slideshow presentation that if you click that link in the video description and pinned comment, you'll see. And I talk about how to frame cannabis or nicotine or alcohol or whatever the drug is as the enemy. I talk about how to set up that mental framework. And that's a big thing. If you can see it as the enemy, not as a crutch, not as your friend, as so many people do, it makes quitting so much easier. You get it. You get it. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. I'm afraid of falling into temptation, says someone from Mexico City. Great seeing you here from Mexico. So you're only tempted if you see benefit to it. You are not some out of control animal. Your brain is not hijacked. You're not going to randomly, impulsively go do something. So why would you be afraid of temptation? The only thing that would tempt you is your belief that it's going to do something for you, period. Or you have a very strong physical dependence, in which case, okay, then I'm wrong. But like, you get what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people that I work with, they'll have gone to AA. They'll have been in the 12-step rooms. They'll gone to rehab, and they'll be told, you're broken, you're powerless, you have a lifelong disease. Addiction recovery is like driving down a straight, narrow road, but there's ditches on both sides and you could go off at any minute. I'd be scared too. If I was fed that for the last several years of quitting drugs, I'd be terrified too. But I'm not. I see past that. I help people overcome that every day, right? Sometimes we have to undo everything people have learned about what they thought about quitting drugs before we can actually help them quit drugs. It's fascinating. Okay. What can help me after a long night of work? Just make me want to go get a vape. Please help. Yeah, man. So first of all, the first thing that's going to help you is breaking down this concept of reward that you're finding with a vape. Like, you got to break down that concept of reward. It doesn't exist. So that's the first thing. Or relaxation. You're either thinking, I want to do it after a long day of work to relax, or because I want to use it as a reward. So first, you have to dismantle those benefits. That's the most important thing. Secondly, I don't know exactly what you can do after a long day of work, but like it could be anything. I had a busy day today with family. It's Sunday, but I still work on Sundays. And this for me is a relaxing thing to do. So, I don't know. Like for me, this is relaxing after a long day of work. Everyone's different though. Like some people it's going to be reading, it might be prayer, it might be meditation, it might be going for a walk, it might be taking a shower, it might be, I build rifles and stuff like that because I'm into target shooting. So like it might be that, like it's a hobby of mine. It might be just watching a movie. It might be spending time with someone. I have no idea what your interests are, what your goals are, and what you're trying to accomplish. And this is why I tell people everyone's a little unique. Like I could give you things that I do, but I don't know if those things would apply to you. And sometimes the answer is just do nothing. Like you worked hard to have some time to do nothing. Like literally just do nothing. That's right. So crazy. Um, sounds easier. It sounds easy, and it really is that easy. Okay. I want to stop, but I feel like I just can't because it's physically and mentally difficult. Mental, it is difficult, but if you can get the right perception, it's not that hard. Physically, if there's physical dependence, it can certainly be physically difficult. And if you say, I feel like I just can't, I can already tell you, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. Right? And that quote is rooted in a person's belief system. I think I can, therefore I can. I think I can't, therefore I can't. You know, there's something up here that needs to be flipped. Why can't you? A drug, it's a lifeless object. It has nothing. It has no control over you. In the absence of physical dependence, it has no control over you. Why can't you? Who's stopping you? Who's telling you you can't? Except for you. Honestly, honestly, think about it. Okay. I've lost all my money in crypto. I've destroyed my emotions. I'm super anxious. I have an addiction and can't stop looking at charts. Yeah, I got to make a video about crypto. So it's very analogous to like gambling, but I understand it's not gambling. Like I've worked with numerous crypto investors over the years, numerous day traders and investors in general over the years. It's similar to gambling in some senses. It's similar. It's similar. I'll make a video about it. Okay. All right, guys. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one phone call here for like 5 minutes. So look, if you want to give me a call and you have a specific question for me to answer, if you don't have a specific question, I'm just going to hang up. But the phone number is 716-274-6788. If someone wants to call in with a specific question, okay? Feel free to. If not, no stress. Okay. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. How I feel today is not how I'll feel tomorrow. How I feel tomorrow isn't how I'm going to feel next week. How I feel next week isn't how I'm going to feel next month. How I feel next month is not how I'm going to feel next year. It's literally in so many instances just a thought. Unless you're going through again a heavy benzo detox or alcohol detox. In that case, it's like, no, wait, it could be a seizure. Like we have to be careful. But again, we got doctors that we work with who can help with that. So have I read Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo? No, I'm familiar with the work though. I haven't read it. I have that book. It's on my bookshelf. It's one of the ones I haven't read. But I've heard very good things, and I'm sure just based on the title, I could get the idea of it, and I probably agree with it. I'm guessing it has to do with your belief systems. The placebo effect is 30% effective, right? So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, I spent so much money on it. Awesome. Okay, let's see here. All right, guys, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this live. I'm going to go to bed because I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning tomorrow to take a call with someone from Thailand. So I have to go to bed early. All right, guys. I will be back at it again soon. We'll plan another live call. I would like to get some phone calls. Those are fun. I really like doing those live. So we'll plan for another day to do that and maybe take like a wait list or something like that. And I'll announce it a few days in the past. For those of you who waited for me to start, I really appreciate it. Like I said, I was carving pumpkins with my little guy, and I don't know. You'd think a 2.5-year-old would be in bed by like 9:45, but he was still kicking and going at 9:30. So, anyways, all right, guys, great evening. Thank you for being here. I hope this helped.